Let's go! Let's go! It's over, Jack. What is this?
Chaos. Blood, swords, and loud screams. Ishowspeed isn't just a Greek gladiator. He's a madman on a horse, excited. Look at him. He's not even holding the reins, just screaming at enemies like a man possessed. Oh, that soldier just got speed. 1 minute he's fighting, the next—
Shut the fuck! Get back! Get back! Get back! No, bro, get back! No, bro, Jack, stream cancel, bro. No, this is bad, bro. What the I literally just started my stream, bro.
Here is 300 BC. Or is it 2024? Who even knows? Because Ishowspeed, the loudest, most chaotic Greek gladiator in history, is about to destroy Sparta. Even though he's not even Spartan. Look at this maniac. He didn't study for war. He just watched 300 on 1.5x speed and said, I got this. Even the enemies are confused because Speed isn't here to fight. He's here to stream. Oh no, he's literally reading super chats mid-battle.
Stream canceled, bro. I can't even do nothing, bro. This has been the worst country, though. I want to say that. It's like too crazy.
In the middle of a literal war, this man pulls out a mic and starts live streaming like it's just a Tuesday. Speed yelling into mic. Ayo, chat, we out here in ancient Greece, or smash like if I should knock out this gladiator. Donation. I scream Sayu in his face. Chat, this is his—
Hello?
Yeah, what's wrong?
Excuse me, I am a YouTuber.
POV, you died because Speed's internet crashed. Enemy gladiator confused, staring at frozen sword. Even his enemies are confused. But Speed— wait, hold up. Is Speed really— no way! In the middle of a literal war, this man pulls out a mic and starts—
I'm being super serious. No, bro, it's over. No, this is bad.
Ayo, chat, we out here in ancient Greece, or smash like if I should knock out this gladiator. Donation. Bro, is this guy streaming my death? Even the enemy is traumatized. Imagine getting clapped in 4K. Let us now step away from fantasy and enter history. Long before the digital age, Rome ruled the world. From a small kingdom along the Tiber River to a vast empire spanning 3 continents. Slow. This is the true story of the gladiators, of emperors like Nero and Marcus Aurelius, of the Senate, betrayal, and blood.
This elite fighting force has left an indelible mark on history, but how did they do it? This is a battle of the immortals against the Persians. And today, we're going to show you what made the Athenian army so effective in battle. The Athenians had no standing army, yet they fielded some of the largest forces ever seen in the ancient world. Their secret was the hoplite, a citizen soldier who fought for his city. These warriors were responsible for repelling the Persian invasion of Marathon in 490 BC, defeating the mighty Persian Empire. In doing so, they established themselves as a major player in Greek politics and set the stage for their future dominance. The following century would see Athens rise to become one of the most powerful city-states in Greece. The military success of the hoplites played a key role in this rise to power, so let's get into it. Hoplites were heavily armed warriors who fought in close quarters combat, typically on foot. They were the backbone of the Athenian military and were responsible for the city's success in battle. To understand what made the Athenian army so effective, we must first take a closer look at the hoplite and the equipment he used in battle. Unlike their opponents, the Athenians had a unique system of defense that was based on teamwork. Each hoplite was equipped with a shield, helmet, sword, and spear, making them nearly impenetrable in close quarters combat. Their shields were large and round, providing protection from incoming projectiles, and their helmets were designed to protect their heads and faces from injury. Swords were used primarily as backup weapons in case their spears broke or were knocked away, while their spears could be hurled at their enemy before being retrieved after the enemy was stunned by its impact. What made the hoplite truly formidable, however, was not just his equipment, but also his training. Every male citizen was required to complete military service, and many hoplites had been fighting since they were young boys. They were trained in the use of their weapons and tactics and were expected to fight alongside their fellow citizens in times of war. This training meant that the Athenian army was able to field an incredibly effective fighting force. The Athenians weren't just heavily armed and well-trained. They also had access to some of the most advanced technology of the time. One example of this was their use of bronze. Bronze was an alloy of copper and tin that was much stronger than iron, which was typically used by their opponents. This gave the Athenian hoplites a significant advantage in close combat as their weapons and armor were more durable and could withstand more punishment. Another example of Athenian innovation was their use of the Corinthian helmet. This helmet was made of bronze and leather and was designed to protect the head and face from injury. It also had a distinctive horsehair crest that added to its intimidating appearance. This kind of helmet was not only more protective than earlier designs, but also allowed for greater visibility in battle. Additionally, the Athenians were known for their hoplon, a large circular shield made of wood and covered in bronze. This shield provided excellent protection from incoming projectiles and could also be used as a battering ram in close quarters combat. The combination of advanced equipment, military training, and innovative tactics made the Athenian army a formidable fighting force. Organization was another key factor in the effectiveness of the Athenian military. The hoplites were organized into units called centuries, which were led by officers known as centaurs. This allowed for a high degree of flexibility and maneuverability on the battlefield, as well as enabling the army to adapt to changing circumstances quickly. Furthermore, the Athenian military was supported by a well-developed system of logistics. This ensured that the hoplites had the supplies and resources they needed to sustain themselves in the field and fight effectively. Overall, the organization and leadership of the Athenian military were critical to its success in battle. As mentioned before, the Athenian army was organized into units called centuries. A century was a basic tactical unit consisting of 100 hoplites. Each century was led by a centaur, a military officer responsible for the training and discipline of his men. The officers were elected by the citizens and were expected to lead by example, inspiring their soldiers to fight bravely in battle. The hoplites within a century were further divided into smaller groups, allowing for greater flexibility and maneuverability on the battlefield. This organizational structure enabled the Athenian military to adapt to changing circumstances quickly and effectively. For example, in a narrow passage, the hoplites could form a column and move through the narrow space easily. But when faced with a larger open area, they could quickly reform into a phalanx, presenting a solid wall of shields to their opponents. The flexibility and adaptability of the Athenian army made them a formidable fighting force. However, this level of organization and discipline could not have been achieved without the introduction of a new concept: phalanx formation. The phalanx was a military formation used by the hoplites, characterized by a solid wall of overlapping shields and spears held by rows of soldiers standing shoulder to shoulder. This formation provided excellent protection from incoming projectiles and made it difficult for enemy soldiers to break through. The hoplites could advance in a phalanx formation or remain stationary to defend a position. This formation was particularly effective against enemy cavalry charges, as the densely packed shields and spears were difficult for horses to penetrate. Overall, the phalanx formation was a key element of the Athenian military success and contributed significantly to their reputation as formidable fighters. Athenian hoplites were also skilled horsemen. While they were primarily known for their ability to fight on foot, they also had a small number of cavalry units that were highly effective in battle. These cavalry units were typically used for reconnaissance missions, as well as for scouting ahead of the main force to identify enemy positions and movements. Cavalry was also used to disrupt enemy formations and to guard key areas such as the flanks of the hoplite phalanx. The Athenian cavalry was particularly effective in open terrain, where their speed and maneuverability could be fully utilized. They were also well trained in the use of their weapons, typically using long spears and swords from horseback. Overall, the Athenian hoplite skills as horsemen added to the overall effectiveness of their military forces. Now, let's talk about those famous red-clad warriors. The iconic red breastplate worn by the Athenian hoplites was not only a symbol of their military might, but also served a practical purpose. The color red was chosen to intimidate their opponents and to inspire fear in their hearts. The breastplate was made of linen cloth soaked in red dye, and it covered the torso and back, providing protection from incoming projectiles and blows from enemy weapons. The red color was highly visible on the battlefield, making the hoplites a striking and memorable sight to behold. This iconic outfit would become synonymous with the Athenian military and would be copied by other city-states. The red breastplate was a symbol of Athens' military power and played a role in instilling fear in their enemies. Another key aspect of the Athenian military success was the leadership of their generals. Generals such as Miltiades, Themistocles, and Chares were skilled military leaders who inspired their troops and made effective use of their resources. Miltiades, for example, was the general who led the Athenian forces to victory at the Battle of Marathon. He was able to defeat a larger Persian army by using his knowledge of the terrain and the discipline of his hoplites. Similarly, Themistocles was the general who led the Greek coalition to victory at the Battle of Salamis. He was able to outmaneuver the Persian fleet by using his knowledge of naval warfare and the agility of the Greek ships. The generals of Athens were not only skilled tacticians, but also inspiring leaders who were able to motivate their troops to fight bravely in battle. Their leadership was a critical factor in the Athenian military success during the Greco-Persian Wars. Lastly, the Athenians had a knack for exploiting their enemies' weaknesses. For example, at the Battle of Marathon, the Athenians were able to exploit the lack of coordination within the Persian army by using their own superior discipline and coordination to defeat their opponents. Similarly, at the Battle of Salamis, Themistocles was able to exploit the narrow straits between the mainland and the island of Salamis by enticing the Persian fleet into the area, where the Greek ships were able to maneuver more easily and inflict heavy damage on the larger Persian fleet. The Athenian generals were skilled at identifying the weaknesses of their opponents and using them to their advantage in battle. This ability to exploit enemy weaknesses was another important factor in the Athenian military success during the Greco-Persian Wars. In conclusion, the Athenian army was a highly effective fighting force that was the product of several key factors. The hoplites, the backbone of the Athenian military, were heavily armed, well-trained, and organized into units called centuries, which allowed for great flexibility and maneuverability on the battlefield. Their equipment was often made of bronze, which was stronger than iron and provided better protection and durability. Additionally, they used advanced equipment such as the Corinthian helmet and the hoplite, a large circular shield. Their skill as horsemen also added to their military effectiveness. The iconic red breastplate worn by the hoplites was not only a symbol of their military might, but also served a practical purpose in battle. The Athenian generals were skilled military leaders who inspired their troops and made effective use of their resources. Lastly, the Athenians were skilled at exploiting their enemies' weaknesses, which gave them an edge in battle. All of these factors combined to make the Athenian army one of the most effective fighting forces in the ancient world.